Hi, I'm professional horseman Chele McGauly. I'm from Elm Grove, Louisiana. I have been a judge and horse trainer for in this industry for many years. I've been a professional for 40. I've probably been judging about 28 years now. Um, this morning, I'll be with Alex Ross discussing the Adequan World Championship Select winning run. Um, and I am very much looking forward to talking to Alex about this run. I watched it the first time the other morning and it gave me goosebumps. It was so elegant and just so easy. And it, to me, it was the epitome of what we want our ranch riders to look like. Alex is, to me, he's been a mentor. He's was director of judges for what, 16 years, Alex?
13 years.
Um, he he's a multiple world champion in several events. He's done great things for our industry. I feel like he is one of the people we all look up to. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk about his wife's Berlin's winning run in the Adequan Select World Championship 2021 horse show. So, Alex, the pattern that Berlin is riding in the finals, this pattern's probably very familiar to you. I understand that you may have helped write this pattern originally for the AQHA to put in the rule book.
Well, Shelley, actually, and it's nice to be with you and all the professional horsemen and people watching this. I hope we're helpful to you. Uh, yes, in 2012, when ranch riding was first introduced at the AQHA World Show, I wrote this pattern for the finals. There have been two slight adjustments made to it since then when it became one of our patterns in our handbook. But yes, it is familiar to me, and I think it is a pattern that has a lot of maneuvers. It demonstrates all the gaits that a horse must do at least twice with an extended trot and extended lope, and then it has several optional maneuvers as required by our handbook. And and it has enough flow to it that I think it shows a horse that by our handbook states a horse that demonstrates the ability to move from one ranching task to another in a casual way. We want these horses to be soft and fluid and not intimidated. And I think this pattern, if and I think this horse shows that throughout this pattern.
I agree with you, Alex. I really enjoyed watching Berlin and Susie go through this pattern. It was effortless, and I think anybody that has shown this class will understand the difficulties of transitioning through so many maneuvers, and they come at you quickly. And as I watch Berlin go through it, she really handles it so well, and you almost don't even realize she's up there. It's so smooth. You get to watching the horse, and one of the things, the mare's so smooth, you don't see Berlin moving at all. Her hand doesn't move. It's just so refreshing to watch. There's no drama. It's just a wonderful, smooth run with extremely well executed maneuvers. So
Well, thank you,
if you don't
Shelley.
mind, Alex, I'll get you to explain it to us.
Well, in preparing this horse and for this pattern, but mainly for the horse in general, we like to work on a lot of transitions because all of the ranch riding patterns have multiple transitions, every pattern. They're a very important part of the class. And so we try to work on the transitions upward and downward where the horse can perform in a casual manner, again, not intimidated. So we worked on this, and of course we always work on our walkovers and our side pass and our lead change and the different optional maneuvers that may be called for in the ranch riding class. And then we start putting these together. So typically we do not ride the pattern at home. We ride parts of the pattern, but what we like to do, especially when we get to the horse show, is, for instance, in this pattern, we're going to try to have this horse entering the arena at the walk. That's the first time the judges see this exhibitor and horse perform, so we want to make it as positive as we can. Right now may be a good time to just briefly talk about our scoring system so everyone understands. The horses are scored from a +1.5 to a -1.5 on each maneuver, with a 0 being correct. So if we think correct for a 0, a +0.5 is good, a +1 is very good, a +1.5 is excellent. On the negative side, we have a -0.5 for poor, -1 for very poor, and a -1.5 for extremely poor. So it's helpful, I think, as someone's watching you at home or when you're watching a video, to talk through the class or the maneuver and just say, was that correct? Was it good? Was it very good? Was it excellent? Was it poor? That way you can come up with a number. Don't think about the number. Think about watching the maneuver and then saying, that was good. So that's a +0.5. It's really easy to talk yourself into the correct score that way. So we think about wanting to make a positive, try to get on that plus side at the walk. And the walk is a very important gait in ranch riding. Sometimes I don't think that maybe horses and exhibitors are rewarded enough for a positive walk, because it's one of the gaits that the cowboys use the most and so they want a horse that's actually demonstrating a forward moving walk without being
Extreme.
overdoing it. Yeah, not extreme, just a nice forward walk. And so that's the first thing when we go in this arena, we want to be thinking we're going to have a good walk. And then when we go to prepping for this pattern at the horse show, they normally have the patterns set the night before the show, so we can go in and we'll practice that walk up. We may practice our side pass both ways in our walkovers, and then moving into the extended trot. So we have to practice this moving from a walk to an extended trot without breaking gait. That's the worst thing that can happen is get in the penalty box. We do not want to lope off. And then I'm going to be picking spots on the arena wall to ride towards. So there may be an AQHA professional horseman sign straight down from me, and I'm going to ride to that sign and utilize all of the arena space I can. I'm not going to shortcut it. I'm going to ride all the way down I can and make my arc. Then at the top of the arena at 12 o'clock, then I'm going to collect back to the trot. So I'm going to just make that collection as casual as I can. And then we come around, and now when we come down and make our next arc to come down, I'm going to look at the far end of the arena, because I'm going to make this arc, stop, execute my turns, and then lope off in the right lead. So I'm going to look down to the far end of the arena. I'm going to pick out the spot when I'm practicing the night before. That may be the Neutrinus feed sign. And I'll look for that when I make my arc. So I'm aiming straight towards, now I have my line set for the next part of my pattern. And after I execute my turns, lope off on the right lead, go down, lope down the end of the arena, move into my extended lope. I know I have to come back diagonally across the arena. That's not an issue. Fair to find my spot and come across to execute my lead change, move, keep loping on the left lead. And now the next maneuver is sometimes, again, another one that's understated. It calls you to come from a lope on the left lead to the walk, not to a stop and then a walk, but to a walk, not from a lope to a trot to a walk, but from a lope to a walk. And if a horse can execute this, and rider team can execute this from a lope to the walk immediately and have a forward walk, that's a high degree of difficulty. It should be rewarded. Walk up to the 12 o'clock again, lope off on the left lead, diagonally across the arena into the extended trot, down to the corner. Again, I'm picking my spot in the corner. I'm going to stay deep as I can, so I can show the next line going across the end of the arena. I stay deep to the left, collect to the trot, make my turn, and go across the arena to my stop and back. I'm using the arena space all I can, and trying to so I can best show my horse off to the judge. So we practice this over and over, maybe just walking. I do not, the night before, when I'm practicing this pattern, trying to locate my spots and help the exhibitor locate the spots, we're not actually running the pattern with the gaits. I actually maybe just have them walk or trot the pattern, and when they come to this from the extended trot, let's say they're just trotting across the end of the arena when they should be in their extended trot, but when they come to that spot in the middle of 12 o'clock where they're going to collect, it's just raise their hand to show me that this is the spot I'm going to collect. And that way they're demonstrating to me where they're going to perform the maneuvers, but and they're finding their spots, and we're doing it at a slower gait where they can think and look and find the spots where they can perform the maneuvers in the show the next day.
So if I'm judging this, my first impression of this mare, she is happy, she's alert, she's looking around, and she has a great walk. If you can stop it for just a second, Doug. This mare comes into the arena, she's looking, she notices the cattle, she acknowledges them, she's not scared, she is exuding confidence, and she's going somewhere, but not to where she's doing a running walk, which is not what you'd want to do towards the cattle. She's free flowing and has a pleasant expression. For me, this is an excellent maneuver. I don't know what else I would want to ride on a ranch. This mare is, for me, in that gear, is excellent. Her side pass to the left is excellent. I see it was a tad more sticky coming back to the right. What do you think went through Berlene's mind in making the corrections to be able to pull this off as a positive maneuver at this point?
Well, I first think we have to think about what's going through the horse's mind, and she has a good positive walk moving up to the side pass. Takes a little peek at the cattle. When Berlene puts her right leg in her, she goes through, and Berlene's just trying to keep her legs involved, not just her hands. So again, she peeked at the cattle, and that's why she got a little sticky. But immediately, when she just closed her hand, when Berlene closed her hand and added her left leg, then she collected back into her hand and then concluded the side pass. So as a rider and exhibitor, then you have to remember that it's the combination of the hand and the leg that's going to collect your horse. It's not just the hand, because if she would have just used hand, then the mare would have probably backed into that side pass log. Or she just used her legs, she'd have probably moved up into it because she was already thinking forward. Look, just those cattle were on her mind. So it's a combination of her hand collecting, her leg pushing her body up and making her round back up so she could get control in a very subtle manner. She did it so smooth, Berlene did it so smooth that it's not really noticeable. But took control of her horse again and finished the maneuver.
And then she goes and continues over the poles effortlessly. Did you guys how did you prepare her to go over the poles? I know there's a fine line of going over them too much and going over them not enough, but Berlin has her. She looks straight across, and this mare just steps across, happy as can be. And I just think this was a really good look right there. What did you guys do to prepare her before before this class?
Well, we work every day on the walkovers and the trot overs and the lope overs. It's not a lot, but some. And and we use the cedar logs, and we normally put a larger cedar log as the first and the fourth walkover. So they have to utilize pick up their feet a little more on those walkovers. And the two in the middle are the size that we generally see at the horse show. So we work on this, but what Berlin, reason she, I think, made this walkover look so smooth was the collection she had back in the side pass, and she had that mare's attention back on her, thinking, not down, but paying attention to the rider. And she did that when she came back across that side pass. Then she simply closed her legs, closed her hand, dropped her hand. When the mare dropped her head, dropped her hand, and then moved forward. And the mare was focused on her task at hand. So sometimes we'll walk right now into that next spot, stop, pause, and pause there. And then we'll walk the next step and pause. Then we'll walk the next step and pause. So they take their time and they find the middle of the spot. So that's why she was able to do that so nice.
It was very nice. When she steps off into her extended trot, um, what a brilliant maneuver. It was so smooth, and she went right into it. And one of the things that I just really enjoy watching is she goes right to it so easily. And Berlin is so quiet in the saddle, it allows your eye to go right to that mare's legs without any drama up above the saddle, and it's an excellent maneuver for me. um what's your take on that, Alex? What do you think Berlin
Well,
was
first,
thinking at
and
this point?
okay, and I'm going to understand how we're going to be shown. Exhibitors need to read the rules in ranch riding, and along with the ranch riding rules, they need to go to the show rule. I think it's 334 that describes the ranch riding gaits, GAITS. It gives you really good information on what the judges should be looking for in this class. And it states in those rules that at the extended trot and the extended lope, the horse's head should be slightly above level. That's the way ranch horses go. If they're in rough country and their head's down and their nose is back, then they're
We're
looking,
going to
it's a
take a
recipe for
tumble.
disaster. Yes. So the horse needs to be able to be balanced in case he hits a bad spot on rough country. And that's the way these horses should be judged. And I think that that's the way most exhibitors try to show them. So we try to show that, but on the collection, Berlin is using her legs, closing her hand, asking for the trot, and you'll see that like the first step, maybe two steps, is a trot step but it immediately moves into the extended trot. And what we can have happen here is break into the lope. So we establish a two-beat gait, bam, bam, up, and she went right into the extended trot. There was no kicking her in the belly. There was no noise. You know, this speed does not have to be extreme because they're not going to be that way on a ranch. It's going to be a difference in the trot and the extended trot. It needs to be a lengthening of the stride, which is what this mare
Just
showed you. And
as
she was level. Her head was slightly above level, but she was soft to the bridle when she made your transition back to the regular trot.
as we talked about before, this is a class of what we would do on a ranch, and we would not be trotting like we're in the sulky races on a ranch. We would be extending the trot, which is just like you said, a lengthening of the stride, and that is exactly what this mare does. textbook. And then as she comes out of the extended trot into her regular trot, this mare comes back so soft. And one of the gauges that I use is when you look, when this mare comes back, she not only comes back soft in her face, but look at how smooth she is. You don't even, it looks like you could ride this mare for hours at a trot, which is actually the gait we use a lot when you're out moving or gathering cattle. And this mare's trot, I really liked her extended trot. I thought it was excellent. And when she comes down to the trot, I actually like her trot every bit as much as her extended, if not more, because it's still ground covering, but it's so balanced and so smooth. I think this mare is so easy, it could be overlooked how good this gait is for her right here. Her ears are up, she's looking where she's going. What a pleasure to ride a horse like that outside. And she stops square and she's preparing for the next maneuver, and then you are about to add something on her trot.
Yes, Shelley. I've heard many ranchers talk about they want a horse that has the boss man trot. So what's a boss man trot? The boss man wants the smoothest horse on the ranch. He wants the smoothest horse in the
Absolutely.
remuda to ride. And so people say, well, it's a little too showy, but really it's not. It's still forward, but it's smooth, just like you said. And that's when she comes around and sits and collects her hand. This mare comes right to her. Her mouth is closed. We have to remember that. And I tell you how, as an exhibitor, I want to think about how I'm going to be judged. You tell me how I perform, and I'll tell you how I'll be judged. And as a as an exhibitor, I want to have a horse that is a good mover, that guides well, and that has expression. That way, I have a shot at getting a 1.5. If if I don't, my horse doesn't guide well, or if my horse doesn't have expression, I should not be able to get a 1.5, no matter how good my horse moves. They have to have all the components. They have to be a good mover, execute the maneuver correctly, uh, guide well, have great expression. Now you have the excellent maneuver.
And on this run, I think unless you're really dialed in and understand the class, you don't realize the degree of difficulty that Berlin is pulling off with these maneuvers. This mare is so smooth and she makes it look so easy. And we both know that it's not. It's effortless here. It's effortless when she goes into the trot. And then as she comes around and she stops and prepares for her first turn, which in this pattern we're allowed to go either way first. Did you and Berlin talk about which way she was going to go first? Because this mare, for me, she's excellent the first way and she's correct the second way. Did you guys discuss which way to go first?
We did, and this mare was giving us some real issues on her turnaround for the few months before the show, and she was really improving, but we still were not where we wanted to be for the World Show. And her sticky way was to the right. So we talked about it and we practiced it and we said, okay, now when you come around this corner, roll your hand, collect that right romail rein just with your finger there, and start your turn almost like you're guiding. You're going to make a little guide maneuver there as you stop. So you have her nose started to the right. And that's why that turn was better than the left. Was she almost started, see her hand move to the right as she stopped?
Right. Right.
and she started. Then she collected that nose, had her nose in the correct position to execute that turn, and so we worked on that, and then of course you have to reposition all the body parts to make the turn the other way. And this mare, she was still pretty green actually when we went through this pattern. So it just all fell together that evening.
It was, right here, that mare comes off of that neck rein so well that first way, and it I almost like that second way. I don't know if Berline's hand got a little fast or the mare just, got a little tight, but you have an excellent first turn and 0 to minus half second turn, so you're still looking at a positive maneuver when you average out the plus 1.5 and whether it's a 0 or a minus half. I couldn't personally go to a minus half on the second turnaround because the resistance was so minimal, and then she came right through and followed that neck rein around. So for me, that would have been, a correct score for the second, but the first turn was excellent. So you're still looking at a positive maneuver there. We're nitpicking because we can, and it's still a very good maneuver, I feel. And then I
Well,
love how, go ahead, Alex, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead. No, you go
I
ahead.
love how she's getting prepared. The mare was a shoulder's width short on her turn, which really isn't a problem, but Berlin was very smart right here, where had she just loped off, there was a possibility she would have caught the left lead instead of the right lead. And Berlin had the wherewithal to realize this in that position, set her up just a hair right here. She moves her slightly and sets up for her right lead, which was such a smart move on her part. And this mare flows into her lope effortlessly. She's brilliant in how she steps off. The mare doesn't lift. She looks where she's going. She, if you notice, she acknowledges the cattle with that ear tilt, and she flows. It doesn't change anything about her. And for me, that lope was excellent. It was, what more, if you were riding in the pasture, what more would you want than what that mare is accomplishing right there? And then she flows right into her extended lope. And understand, this is an extended lope. It's not a hand gallop going to go rope a cow. It is an extension of the lope, and this mare steps off, extends that shoulder, and it's so beautiful. And the most difficult part to me of this whole pattern is where she comes back from the extended lope. It's a collected lope and a change leads, and this is done brilliantly. It is an extremely high degree of difficulty, one, because she is extending her lope towards the cattle. She collects her and changes within 2 strides. And this mare not only does it perfectly, her lead change is excellent. And she continues on for the next maneuver, which is her left lead. I'm thinking it is an excellent maneuver. It has one little spot that she hesitates, and looking at it, Alex, the mare in Berlin. I'm thinking maybe it's because Berlin's thinking about her next maneuver, and that mare is so tuned in, she's reading her mind. And when Berlin feels that and she closes her leg back on her, the mare continues on at a lope. So where I'm thinking, it's an excellent maneuver that might have brought it down to a very good maneuver or a +1 for me, but at the same time, I've got to acknowledge the the connection between these two and how well she handles that. And then to come down from that lope to the walk so squarely and confidently, I love this whole line coming across the center. I just don't see how she could have done that better. What were you thinking was going through Berlene's mind when that mare raided back?
Well, I think, I agree with you. She had a beautiful right lead lope, moved up to her extended lope, very nice, collected, uh, an excellent lead change. And then right here, I think Berline's thinking my next maneuver is the walk, and she softens her right leg just a little bit. She just opened her leg almost subconsciously, and that mare felt it because her cue to come to the walk
They're
is to
so
open the
tuned
leg.
in.
Yes, and she'll see right here, she opens her leg and she comes to the walk. And I think she just relaxed her leg subconsciously, but she has such good feel that she immediately closed it again. And
Exactly. And it's
it's
not
just a
enough.
blurb.
Exactly. It's not enough to really detract. It just made me appreciate how well the team works together because you know yourself 90% of the time that's going to be a bobble that may become a penalty. And she handles this so well, and this mare responds to her so softly without any drama, without anything other than if you're trained on that as a judge would be, you will notice it, but it doesn't take away from the maneuver because she pulls it off so nicely. And then to go into the walk so effortlessly after that, and then to continue on with an excellent walk. For me, her walk after that lope is every bit as good as the walk when she comes in. This is a forward moving, may even be better. She's forward moving. She's showing everything that we want. And, that's kind of a difficult maneuver. She's at the back of the arena, which is always the scariest place for a horse. And what do you think's going through Berlene's mind in that? Do I push my walk to gain those extra points? Do I play it safe and let her walk a plus half, or do I go for the plus one or 1.5?
You can see her fanning her legs just a little bit, saying, "Come on, let's have a
Right.
little more." I think right now she trusts her horse. And, as exhibitors, we all know, and we have to think about when the way our horses warm up outside may not be the way they show when they go in the bright light. So
It
when
always
we
freshens them
are
up, doesn't it?
asking, well, it does, when we're asking for more trot and more lope or more walk outside, and we go in the arena and we feel them tighten up, we're going to have to soften our cues as exhibitors. We have to think about that and read our horse. But by now, she's been through this enough, and her mare's starting to really relax for her, that she can fan her legs a little bit and try to get that plus half, plus one walk. And because her departure was just extraordinary, I thought it's harder than people think to come from that
Oh,
lope
I
to a dead
agree.
right to a walk,
Right,
and
and
no
then to
stop,
go
no
right
trot.
back up to the lope. Right
Right,
here, she goes right back up to it. The mare
beautiful
does
departure.
not lift. You're right, she doesn't lift. I love how natural she looks. She moves her tail when the leg comes on, as a horse naturally is going to do. And this extended trot right there by the cattle, it's a huge trot. It's she's lifting her shoulder and extending, and I think this is actually an even better extended trot than her first one was. And that says she's going to cattle, so she's really listening to Berlin, because most horses are always going to rate back as they go to cattle, especially if they've worked cattle. Their first inclination is to know to rate back, and this mare just really extends, and you can see she's got that ear cocked at the cattle, and she's paying attention, but she's paying attention to Berlin, and to slow it down, make that corner, um, and bring that down to a regular trot. It is so easy for this mare in Berlin. There's no drama, there's no resistance. It's just, yes ma'am, here we go. And it's such a positive transition and set of maneuvers there. What a great way to come towards the conclusion of an excellent run.
Yeah, the run actually when Berlin came out of the arena, and I was on her other horse watching on the TV in the warm up arena. And when she came out, she said, "Well, it was okay," or something like that. And I said, "No, it was really good." I said, "It may have just felt okay because it was so smooth and so correct." But I said, "You were excellent. I mean, it was just so good." And of course, we didn't know what the score was, but it turned out to be pretty good. But
Yeah, and
sometimes it's just
you see so many different styles in the ranch riding. You see a lot of, big moves, big drama, big trying to get attention. And for me personally, a run like this is the epitome of what I feel a ranch horse should be doing. It's smooth extensions, it's smooth transitions. She can do the parts, and this mare is so smooth doing it. And Berlin rides her so well, and with that combination and the mare being so smooth, you almost forget that Berlin's even up there. And that being said, what she's wearing is very ranchy, but it's conservative also. And I feel that it's such a good picture for this team because it it allows my eye to look at the mare and her movement even more. And Berlin looks great up there, but it matches so well and it's understated in a classy way that it works so well. Is this something she put together? Is this something you guys chose together? Because I think the combination is stellar.
absolutely Berlin. She does. She's in charge of her outfits, and
So you don't have any
she thinks
say.
exact. Absolutely not. I may say, well, I like your full chaps better than your chinks, but anyway, that's about as far as it goes. She's going to wear what she likes, and she has excellent taste. But I we do think about trying to keep it ranchy. We want to think about that, and whatever we're wearing, we want to keep it ranchy and not showy. It's we have to protect this class. It's so
Yeah,
important to
the
protect the
integrity of
integrity
our
of
class.
this class.
I agree with you. Alex, I really have enjoyed watching Berlin ride this mare. You've done such an incredible job coaching her. Um, I've heard it said, it may be a little risque for this, but I've heard you should never coach anybody that you've seen naked. So that would include a child or a spouse. And is it difficult um, coaching your wife as opposed to coaching, just a client that you have a casual relationship with? How much more difficult, easier is it coaching your wife?
Well, and it works both ways, Shelley. We try to coach one another,
I like
uh,
that.
and we really try to because eyes on the ground are so important for anyone. And the way I try to suggested is, I I have a suggestion, or this is what I see. How does that feel? What do you think? When I'm riding, look at me. Is this is this too much trot? Does this look natural? Is it enough trot? Extended trot? Something along those lines. So we just converse back and forth in a casual manner, but it's really no different because we have I think a good working relationship and converse and it's so important to help one another. You know that you can, as long as you trust the eyes that are watching you and you
Well,
trust
and
their
you're so
opinion.
blessed in multiple ways, obviously. But Berlene's history in our industry, um, you know, before she gave up her card when you became director of judges, she was a judge and she knows what a horse is supposed to look like. She's been there, she completely understands, and so she can also watch you and do the same. And I think that's been extraordinary for both of you, and I love what it's allowing you guys to do in the arena. It appears to be a blessing for both of you.
Well, I think it is that, like I say, both we help one another, and we both are pretty opinionated, and so sometimes our
Really.
suggestions are taken, and or not me, but 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 no, we try to make it work that way, but I don't think it's much different than a regular client. I really don't, because the conversation and understanding. I think that the most important thing that an exhibitor needs to realize is, how do I control the body parts of my horse? And if I can control the body parts of my horse, meaning from the mouth back through the neck and the shoulders, the front feet, the rib cage and the hindquarters, and if I can use my hands, seat, and legs to control these body parts, and the softer I get my horse to the age where they're actually invisible aids, like you saw Berlin have in this run, then the more I can help my horse in the arena, if need be, without drawing undue attention, and the better my score is going to be. So it's all a matter. I'm a really big advocate of getting a horse soft and trusting me instead of intimidating the horse, because sooner or later the intimidation is going to wear off. They're not fun for an amateur or a youth to ride. So I think people need to be conscious that they reward the thought of the horse. That when that horse, when you pick up and ask for something and they do it, then you reward them with the release. They learn from the reward and from the release. And it's so important for exhibitors to realize this.
Very good point, Alex. It
So,
showed in that run. It was smooth and effortless, and I hope more people will realize that is how we need to go, and what we want to present. It's supposed to look pleasant and easy. It's not drama driven. It's we want a horse that's very usable, but is very aesthetically pleasing to the eye to watch. So as we come down and we've discussed this transition right here, it's really an excellent maneuver. This mare's soft. She comes into her stop. She stops and she back. I love how this mare steps. She's very deliberate in her steps back. I really do not enjoy watching a horse back up that pushes with its front feet. And because Berlin is using her calves and lifting this mare's belly, it allows this mare to lift her shoulder, pick her feet up and step back. I love that about this run. Her backup steps are excellent. I would truly like to see her a little softer in her face. It still ends up being a positive maneuver because she steps back so extremely well. And unless you really are staring at her face, you're not going to see any resistance. And the only resistance I see is actually in her jaw just a little bit. She's not opening her mouth, but she's just a tad bracy there, which would keep me from being a +1.5 on this back. So for me, it's going to bring it down to, a half, maybe still be a 1. I'm a perfectionist on the back. And so I'm picking that apart, but I love that Berlin, squeezes her with her legs. That mare tightens up her belly and lifts her shoulders and steps back so well. And there really isn't a lot of resistance in her face. And when I talk about that, it's very subtle, but for me, it's there. And because the steps are so positive and the resistance in the face is minor, she's still, either a +1/2 or a +1 on this maneuver. What's your take on this, Alex?
I agree with you. I love the fact that the mare backs straight and backs with her mouth
Yes.
closed. But
Yes.
you're correct. There is a little bit of push, almost an invisible push, and very few people would see it.
Exactly.
But it's there. And I also like the fact that her steps are even. They're not,
They're even and she picks them up. It's excellent.
yes, steps
Excellent
back.
footwork.
So, right. So, with all parts considered, I agree. I think it's a +1/2. She had a nice stop and then moved into her back relatively softly, but there is a touch of resistance there. So I agree with you. I think it's a maximum +1/2.
Right.
When you talk
We've
through it,
talked
is it
about the
correct?
whole,
It's certainly correct. Is it good?
it's certainly
Yes, good.
correct.
Is it very good? Maybe not. So somewhere 0 to
No,
+1/2.
the resistance takes that away. But, this whole overall run is exceptional. And I've yet to either ride or see a perfect pattern, but this pattern is so above what you would see most anywhere. It is, if watching this run does not give you goosebumps as either an exhibitor, a trainer, a judge, or a horse enthusiast, then you need to rethink what you feel about what a good horse is, because this is an excellent exhibitor, excellent run, such a well executed pattern. I've enjoyed every minute of watching it.
Thank you. I've enjoyed working with you, Chele. You've done an excellent job assisting
Thank you,
our
Alex.
members.
I I get nervous. That public speaking is not my thing.
Could have fooled me.